If you drive on these highways at 2 a.m., you don't just see the road. You start to feel like time itself has slowed down, and something else might be traveling with you, something that never appears in the rearview mirror. Across America, there are highways that drivers don't just remember, they talk about. Not because of their scenery or speed limits, but because of what people claim they experienced when the world was empty. The radio cracked with static, and the fog arrived too suddenly to feel natural. These are not just roads. They are moving corridors of history, isolation, and unexplained stories. Places where asphalt meets imagination, and reality sometimes feels slightly out of place. Tonight, we travel through 7 legendary haunted highways of America, where every mile carries a story, and every shadow might be doing more than just passing by. Tonight's journey is not about a single road, but 7 highways where legend and reality blur. Places where headlights cut through fog thicker than weather, where radio static feels almost intentional, and where travelers have sworn they were not alone on empty stretches of pavement. These are 7 haunted legend highways of America. On a cold night somewhere in the Midwest, a driver notices something strange ahead, a figure standing near the shoulder of an empty road. There are no houses nearby, no parked cars, no reason for anyone to be there. As the vehicle passes, the figure is gone, yet the road continues, unchanged, indifferent. Stories like this are not tied to one place in America. They appear again and again, mapped onto highways like invisible ink that only reveals itself after sunset. To understand these stories, we begin with the most iconic ribbon of road in American imagination. Route 66 is often called the Mother Road, officially established in 1926 as part of the original U.S. highway system. It was created by private contractors working under federal direction to connect Chicago, Illinois, to Santa Monica, California, spanning roughly 2,448 miles. Its purpose was simple but transformative: to link rural towns to urban centers, enabling migration, trade, and later, wartime logistics. It became a lifeline during the Dust Bowl of the 1930s, when thousands of families fled westward in search of work and stability. The construction of Route 66 was not a single project, but a patchwork of existing roads upgraded and connected over time. Engineers faced uneven terrain, from the flat plains of Oklahoma to the rugged deserts of Arizona. Weather, limited funding, and rapidly evolving automobile technology all shaped its development. Over time, it became less of a highway and more of a cultural artery. Geographically, Route 66 passes through 8 states: Illinois, Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and California. It connects major cities such as Chicago, St. Louis, Tulsa, Albuquerque, and Los Angeles. Its terrain shifts constantly: prairies, desert basins, mountain passes, and abandoned towns that still cling to fading neon signs. While Route 66 is not officially documented as haunted, its reputation for ghost stories is deeply rooted in traveler folklore. Abandoned motels, decaying gas stations, and empty stretches of desert highway have produced countless reports of phantom hitchhikers and unexplained figures seen near roadside curves. Many of these stories cluster around long, deserted segments where traffic once defined survival. Accidents were common in its early decades, particularly during the Great Depression and post-war travel boom. Narrow lanes, increasing speeds, and lack of safety barriers contributed to fatal crashes. Over time, Interstate 40 replaced much of its function, leaving behind quiet segments that now feel frozen in time. Route 66 ends not with a bang, but with silence. The silence of forgotten towns that once depended on it completely. And that silence is often where legend begins. Far to the west, another highway stretches across Nevada like a ruler drawn through emptiness. U.S. Route 50, famously dubbed the loneliest road in America, was named in a 1986 Life magazine article describing its vast isolation. It runs approximately 3,200 miles from West Sacramento, California, to Ocean City, Maryland. Its Nevada stretch, however, is the most famous and the most desolate. Built gradually in the early 20th century and formally designated in 1926 alongside Route 66, US 50 was intended to connect small mining communities across the American interior. Construction through Nevada was especially difficult due to harsh desert conditions, extreme temperature swings, and lack of water sources. Engineers relied on existing wagon trails, upgrading them into graded roads suitable for early automobiles. The terrain is stark: endless desert plains, salt flats, mountain ranges like the Toiyabe and Ruby Mountains, and towns separated by hundreds of miles of emptiness. Cities are sparse. Ely, Eureka, and Fallon are among the few recognizable stops. The highway's reputation for isolation has fueled modern legends of unexplained sightings and eerie silence experienced by drivers. Travelers often report a psychological effect known as highway hypnosis, intensified by the unchanging landscape. While there is no verified supernatural documentation, the road's remoteness contributes to its reputation as a place where perception can easily distort reality. Accidents on US 50 often stem from fatigue and isolation rather than road design. Emergency response times in remote Nevada stretches can be extremely long, which has historically increased the danger of breakdowns and severe weather exposure. In many ways, US 50 is not haunted by spirits, but by distance itself. In the American Southwest, another highway carries a more direct association with fear. US Route 491, formerly known as US Route 666, was officially renumbered in 2003 due to public concern over its Devil's Highway nickname. It runs approximately 800 miles through New Mexico, Colorado, Utah, and Arizona. Originally designated in 1926 as part of the U.S. highway system, US 666 was simply a numerical branch of US 66. However, its number, associated in Christian tradition with the number of the beast, created decades of superstition. Construction followed standard federal highway expansion practices, connecting rural and indigenous regions across the Four Corners area. The terrain is diverse and dramatic. High desert plateaus, mesas, canyonlands, and stretches of arid, windswept land. Key cities include Gallup in New Mexico and Cortez in Colorado. Over time, the highway gained a reputation for danger, largely due to high accident rates caused by speeding, wildlife crossings, and long isolated stretches. This statistical reality merged with superstition, creating a mythology of a cursed road. In 2003, officials changed its designation to US 491, partly to reduce confusion and negative perception. Documented incidents include frequent rollover accidents, especially in New Mexico, where crosswinds and fatigue have contributed to fatalities. However, no verified supernatural events exist in official records, only the powerful influence of symbolism shaping human perception. The highway's legend persists even after its renaming, proving that numbers alone can shape fear. In Florida, Interstate 4 cuts across the state from Tampa to Daytona Beach, covering roughly 132 miles. Built as part of the interstate highway system authorized by the Federal Aid Highway Act of 1956, its construction began in the late 1950s and was completed in segments through the 1970s. Engineers designed I-4 to connect major population centers and support Florida's growing tourism industry. It passes through Orlando, making it one of the most heavily trafficked highways in the southeastern United States. The geography is flat and humid, passing through wetlands, suburban sprawl, and entertainment corridors. It connects Tampa, Lakeland, Orlando, and Daytona Beach. Despite its modern design, I-4 has developed a reputation for danger. It is frequently cited among the most hazardous highways in the United States due to congestion, aggressive driving, and high accident rates. Fatal crashes are well documented in traffic safety reports. Urban legends along I-4 include reports of ghostly pedestrians near certain exits and unexplained lights along wooded stretches. These stories are difficult to verify but persist in local storytelling, often linked to older burial grounds and historical settlements displaced by development. The reality is more grounded: rapid urban expansion, high traffic density, and driver fatigue. Yet at night, when Orlando's lights fade behind you, the road can feel unusually quiet for a highway carrying millions of vehicles a year. High in Colorado, Interstate 70 crosses the Rocky Mountains, creating one of the most visually dramatic and challenging highways in America. Stretching about 2,151 miles from Utah to Maryland, I-70 was constructed beginning in the late 1950s and completed in sections over several decades. The most technically difficult portion is the Eisenhower-Johnson Memorial Tunnel, completed in 1973. Engineers faced extreme altitude, unstable rock formations, heavy snowfall, and unpredictable weather. It remains one of the highest vehicular tunnels in the United States. The terrain includes steep mountain passes, alpine valleys, and snow-covered peaks. Cities along its path include Denver, Vail, and Glenwood Springs. I-70 is not traditionally labeled haunted, but its winter driving conditions have produced numerous fatal accidents, particularly during snowstorms and black ice events. Vehicles have been stranded for hours or longer during severe weather closures. Some travelers report unsettling experiences in whiteout conditions, moments where visibility disappears completely, creating a sense of isolation despite heavy traffic. These conditions have fueled modern folklore about lost travelers and phantom lights, though these are more psychological effects of extreme weather than documented phenomena. The highway's true danger lies in nature itself, not myth. Further north, U.S. Highway 2 stretches across the upper United States, running approximately 2,500 miles from Washington State to Michigan. It was designated in 1926 as part of the original Federal Highway Network, designed to connect remote northern communities and support logging, agriculture, and cross-border trade with Canada. The terrain is heavily forested in places, with long stretches of rural land, especially through Montana and North Dakota. It connects cities like Everett, Spokane, and Duluth. Highway 2 has a reputation for isolation, particularly in winter, when snowstorms can make travel treacherous. Accident records show periodic severe crashes due to weather, wildlife crossings, and long distances between services. Local legends sometimes describe shadow figures or unexplained encounters on remote stretches, especially in forested regions. These stories are part of regional folklore rather than documented historical events. Its true challenge is its scale and exposure to harsh northern climates. Finally, U.S. Route 61, known as the Blues Highway, runs from New Orleans, Louisiana, to Wyoming, Minnesota, covering about 1,400 miles. Established in 1926, it follows older trade routes along the Mississippi River. Its construction linked agricultural regions, river towns, and cultural hubs, becoming central to the development of blues music in America. Cities along its path include Memphis, St. Louis, and Baton Rouge. The terrain follows the Mississippi River Valley, humid, flood-prone, and rich in cultural history. While not officially haunted, Route 61 carries a deep emotional weight in American music and folklore. Stories of musicians, river tragedies, and historic floods have created an atmosphere where memory and myth overlap. Documented incidents include major flooding events and traffic accidents in river-adjacent areas. The highway feels less like a road and more like a timeline of American cultural memory. Across all 7 highways, a pattern emerges. None of them require ghosts to feel haunted. Isolation, weather, history, and human imagination are enough. Each road carries its own kind of silence. The silence of deserts, of mountains, of abandoned towns, or of heavy traffic swallowed by night. And perhaps that is the real legend of American highways. They do not just connect places. They preserve the moments people could not quite explain long after the journey ends. Somewhere on Route 66, a motel sign still flickers in the dark. Somewhere on US 50, the horizon refuses to end. Somewhere on I-4, headlights pass through fog that was not there a moment ago. And on every one of these roads, the question remains the same long after the engine is turned off. What exactly passed by in the other lane?